Hey, what's going on, my friend? This is Ola. This is Ola coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Welcome to Virtual Wholesaling Masterclass. My name is Ola Toksabi Togo. My goal here, I want to cover everything there is to know about virtual wholesaling. We're going to cover everything today. So I'm extremely excited, and I'm hoping that you're just as excited. Even if you're just half as excited as I am, that's more than enough, because today you will learn how to bring in 5 to 10 deals per month. This is all about a system. It's a very simple business, okay? It's not about how hard you manually work. It's about having access to the information I'm going to give you today and putting together a system to make it work for you even while you're sleeping, okay? So that's what we're going to cover today. Again, my name is Tokes Abi Togun. Some people call me Tokes. Most people know me as Ola. And but I'm very, very excited, as you can see. The game has changed. The game has completely changed. About 3 years ago, I talked about wholesaling being dead. And basically at that time, we started talking about smart wholesaling. About a year after that, we talked about smart wholesaling. You know, just like everything else in life, things evolve. Things evolve, and you have to stay on top of it. But again, that's not the main part about what we're about to cover today. Definitely, I'll be talking about how things have changed. But also, some of you may be here and it's your first time learning about real estate investing, and you're looking for ways to tap into the wave that's coming, where you can literally flip houses right from your laptop. We're going to cover all of that today. So I'm very, very excited about what we're going to cover today. All right. So I kind of waited a little bit just to make sure that everyone is plugged in. If you're plugged in right now, just stay put, grab your pen, grab your papers, get the babies with a babysitter, get the dogs with a babysitter, do whatever you have to do, because the information I'm going to share with you over the next minutes, you don't want to miss any part of it. All right, so with that being said, I think I should wait about 30 seconds. I want you to grab a pen, grab a paper. You need to take notes. All right, so yep, about 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, about my background, that's it. Let's get started. I think, I should do a little background so you can have a proper context of why I'm able to share this kind of information with you. I was just like you. The only difference is that to have this kind of information, I had to pay money. Back in 2004, I invested about $3,000 in the course, So, and in 2005, I closed my first deal. Okay, it was a $10,000 deal. It was supposed to be $20,000 deal. Some of you that probably know my story know why that $20,000 turned to $10,000. Nonetheless, that was a good $10,000. It was Christmas time, December. It was worth it. I bought a car for $5,000, and then from there, I had some money to continue to market. In 2007, by 2007, just less than 24 months into consistently closing deals, I've done about $3 million in complete personal sales. In 2008, then the real estate caused a recession to the whole world and everything crashed. And yes, by the way, my business got wiped out together with it. In 2009, I discovered virtual businesses. Okay, so my background for virtual businesses and running a business from home goes as far back as 2009. Honestly, everything before that was kind of like virtual too, and because there was a few things that happened that kind of like started to really become a sign for me to start to look at things a little bit differently. And sadly, in 2020 and beyond, some people still think manual work is what turns to money, but it just doesn't. It's not luck, but it's not manual work either. It's actually more like value. The more value you put into a marketplace, the more money you're going to make. And that doesn't necessarily mean manual work. Okay. And that's why you will find out here in a minute how you can easily build a 6-7 figure business with half the amount of work that you already do right now. That means you'll be able to spend more time with your family. You have more freedom of time and money and whatever you want to do with that. Okay. Now in 2011, I launched my EmpirePro.com. So we've been around quite a bit. My Empire Pro Studios has been around for a while. It was just the launch of my EmpirePro.com in 2011. 2012, we're doing about $3,000 to $15,000 per day. Basically, our products, we started creating products, we started creating opportunities with, and also from real estate as well too. But basically we wake up certain days and we have up to $15,000 in sales. So and everything in between. Okay, so I'm not telling you that everything is I'm not telling you by any stretch that in the next 30 days you're gonna do this, but I'm telling you that in the next few days you'll be able to be all set up to be able to do this down the line. Okay, we'll talk more about that. 2014, joint venture, real estate investing, silent partnerships everywhere. So basically I didn't have to go out on the streets anymore. I didn't have to do any kind of the dirty work that comes with traditional real estate investing and wholesaling. Basically I became a silent killer in the business. 2018, I wrote Smart Real Estate Wholesaling from my experiences, and I came up with 3 core pillars: value, automation, and people. Okay, 3 core pillars that makes up a virtual business. Not just virtual business, any business period. But if you want to build a smart business, that's what it comes down to. All right, so and then in 2019, I wrote a second book called The Real Estate Money Secrets. Basically, I found out that a lot of people, probably don't have any proper context of what it even means to make money in real estate. And by the way, the book has nothing to do with being licensed as an agent or anything like that. That's just one of many different ways to make money in real estate. Being an agent requires being on the streets and knocking on doors and, dealing with people and then babysitting people. None of this stuff I'm going to share with you has anything to do with babysitting people. It has to do with putting out more value into the marketplace of real estate. And that marketplace also includes real estate agents. Okay, so you're not going to be enemies to real estate agents. You're actually going to help them make their life a lot more easier right from your laptop with everything I'll be sharing with you. So who is this for? This masterclass right here is very important that I cover who this particular masterclass is for. It's not for everyone. Okay, I'll be the first to tell you it's not for everyone, but I want to tell you, if you have any interest, if you're a beginner, you're brand new into the game of real estate investing, and you have any interest in making money in real estate, and especially now that everything has seemingly crashed down to below zero, this is the right time to come in right now. It's not the right time to come in when everything is rosy. It's okay to come in. Right now is always the best time to come in, but the next best time to come in is when everything doesn't seem rosy in real estate, because it also means there's a lot more opportunity that I will be uncovering for you over the next few minutes here. Okay, then if you've closed one deal, okay, if you've closed one deal before but you can't seem to get to the next deal and you're kind of stuck, you kind of got lucky and then you closed one deal. Maybe you were driving for dollars, you got lucky and you closed one deal, and now you can't seem to find the next deal. This masterclass is absolutely for you. If you've been closing one deal per year, maybe you're not consistent enough with what you're supposed to do. Maybe you're depending on you as a human being, because human beings, one of the hardest things for us to do is to be consistent. We're not machines, okay? So because of that, you need to create systems that will put you in a position to be consistent. You have to position yourself for consistency. Consistency doesn't fall out of the skies. You have to position yourself for that, because there are going to be days when you don't feel like getting up. Does your business continue when you don't feel like getting up, right? Then local real estate investors, maybe you're stuck in local and you feel like, maybe there's another market out there where I could benefit from. If you're that kind of person and you feel like, I should expand my horizons, and in fact you've noticed that in your particular local market it's not the best, the activities doesn't seem like what you hear about on the internet, then this is absolutely for you too, because we're going to cover how the new local is basically international, not even just national. You have to go beyond what you comprehend as local. Okay, it's a global village that we're in right now. So when you have a laptop and an internet connection, that definition changes. That's also for you. We're also going to cover those of you that are already advanced real estate investors, but you're looking to take everything online. You want more time, more freedom, and you want to be able to do this, and maybe you're looking to scale out massively. This masterclass is also for you. Okay, so where's the money? Okay, so a lot of people, you're brand new here and you don't even understand where's real estate investing coming from. It's very, very simple. Okay, so let's just assume a property is worth $100,000. Like if it was all fixed up and ready to go, it's brand new, it's staged, it's beautiful. Somebody came with their wife into the kitchen, they fell in love with the kitchen, the bathroom is all good to go. That property is worth $100,000 today. Let's just assume that for a second, for the sake of example, right? Basically, that property is worth $100,000, but there's a property next door to it. It needs some work. Let's just assume it needs about $10,000 worth of work to bring it up to the same speed. The same exact type of property, but it needs about $10,000 to fix it, right? The idea, when you hear the 70% rule in flipping houses, it's called the 70% rule. The idea as an investor is to go in there and offer 70% of what the property will be worth after repair. So after repair, we already know it's worth $100,000, right? So the idea is you multiply $100,000 by 70%. That brings you to $70,000. I'm keeping the number super simple, right? If this was $400,000, you will multiply $400,000 by 70%, right? And that will be what? $280,000. But you have to adjust that number for the amount it's going to take you to repair it. Okay, so let's go back to the $100,000 example, right? $100,000, 70% of $100,000 is $70,000. It's going to cost you $10,000 to fix up the property, right? And that's 70 minus $10,000, and your offer will be $60,000 on the house. Okay, why did you multiply by 70%? Because that's where your profit lies. That's how you're going to be able to pay the fees, the closing cost, holding fees, and that's how you're going to be able to make some profit. It's as simple as that. So you want to write this down. Dealestimator.com is a free tool that I put together that you can use to calculate and mess around. Once we're done with this class and you start doing work, you can use dealestimator.com and do quick math and understand how these things work. But it's a free calculator. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to be trying to calculate comprehensive or complicated math in your head. It's very simple. After repair value, you need to find that. So we know it's $100,000 in this case. You multiply that by 70%, okay? And then you adjust that for how much it's going to cost you to repair the property. And then you have $60,000, right? Now, in some market, that 70% rule will be 65. In some market, it will be 80% rule. So the more competitive that market is, the higher that number can be, because it just means there's more investors willing to pay more, right? But if there's a regular market, you're probably looking at about 70%. If it's really, really slow in your market, you're looking at about 65%, okay? And obviously, across board, the lower you can get with that factor, that rule, right, the better, because it just means there's more space to make some serious profit. But that's the 70% in flipping rule. That's the core of everything we're going to be working with here today. There are all kind of nuances. We're going to cover all of that in a second, okay? But that's really, really the core thing that you need to understand. That's where the money comes from. That 30% difference, that equity spread that you create when you multiply 70% by the after repair value, that's where the profit comes from. And the more you can find this kind of deals where it's discounted, okay, by a minimum of 70%, right, adjusted with the amount it's going to cost you to repair it, the more you can find it, the more money you can make. Now, how do we find it? Again, we live in a global village. We have laptop, we have an internet connection. It's extremely easy to do that these days. It's really, really that simple, okay? Now, the other thing I wanted to share with you is that why would somebody want to sell their property cheaply? Because it needs work. So that fixed up property that's staged, that's beautiful, that somebody will fall in love, that somebody has done some work in adding value to the property, obviously that person would be less motivated to want to sell it to you at a cheaper price, right? They want as much as much money as possible, right? That's what they want, right? So we're looking for properties that need work. We're looking for properties from distressed homeowners, meaning a tired landlord, a landlord who doesn't want to deal with tenant headaches or things like that, or maybe people that have a lien on their property and they can't afford to pay for it. These are the kind of situation you're looking strictly for. Distressed property owners, potentially distressed property owners is what we're going to be dealing with. We don't deal with pretty houses. It makes sense that they will want full price for their house, right? We don't deal with people that don't have to sell. They don't have to sell. We're not dealing with people that have listed their house on the public market, because again, they've listed their house on the public market because generally they want as much money as possible for it, right? So if you're going to talk to those people and help them out, you want to make sure you're focused on helping them get what they want. You don't want to be presenting the opposite of what they want, because that's how you become people's enemies, right? So that's how you find deals. You find distressed property owners, vacant properties, pre-foreclosures, people facing divorces, out-of-state owners, non-owner occupied property that needs significant amount of work, right? Burnt down houses. These are the opportunities. Ugly houses, ugly situations, okay, that happens in life. Unfortunately, that's where the opportunities are. You help the homeowner get rid of this kind of situation. You make money in that same process. That's where the money comes in. So now, my 10-in-1 goal for you today is to equip you to close 2 to 3 deals per month. Okay, let's keep it that simple. Okay, by the time you learn what you learned here today, if you're closing 10, 20 deals per month, I won't be surprised. Okay, but let's keep things conservative. Okay, because if you can close 2 to 3 deals per month, then all you have to do is work on the system so you can multiply that and scale out without scaling out the amount of time that's required on your part. That's what systems mean. That's what leverage is all about. Okay. So 1, we're going to cover 5 most popular myths about investing in real estate. We're also going to cover the 10 steps definite guide to real estate investing and wholesaling. I've touched a little bit on some of them just now, okay? But we're going to get into a little bit more details. The 2 necessary evil sides of wholesaling that gurus never talk about, okay? So wholesaling is when you find the deals, okay? Investing or fixing and flipping, you don't have to do that part. There are people waiting for deals all day long. They'll pay you. They will pay for the property. You make little $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You keep it moving to the next deal without having to touch fixing properties if you don't want to. Okay. Now, if you do want to, being in the position to learn what you're about to learn today, you get to see the best deals in the market before they get in the hands of fix and flippers, right? You see the best deals and you can retain the best deals for yourself. So even if you're a fix and flipper kind of person, you still want to learn this stuff, because this is how you find the best deals in the market, or out of market deals. Okay. Number 4, the 3 DDS secrets of virtual wholesaling. Okay, you want to be able to do this anywhere in the world, especially anywhere in the United States. Okay, you don't want to get stuck in a local county or anything like that. Okay, the 7 steps virtual and remote wholesaling workflow. I'm going to share that with you. You're also going to learn the art and science of joint ventures. You're also going to learn data, the 3 phases of motivation and eliminating competition. Competition is a real thing. There's gurus everywhere, YouTube channels everywhere. Everyone think they're a wholesaler. Everyone have their hands in the jar and they want their own piece of the pie. And that's okay. But I want to teach you how to stand out so that you don't become just another wholesaler. Okay. Number 8, data collection analysis demo. Okay. So I'm actually going to show you a demo of the software and give you free access to the software. Okay, so I'm also going to give you that as well. And then number 9, the first step to getting started with high probability of success. And then 10, I'm going to give you an attendance gift. It's worth $97. Okay, this gift right here is one of the things that will set you apart from everyone else out there. Okay, It's ready to go. You can start using it right away. It's completely free. It will cost you $97 minimum for you to have access to this, or at least worth of time digging around the internet. But I've already provided it for you, and you're going to have access to that. It's called the V3000. Okay. The attendance gift called the V3000. I'm going to give you access to that if you stick around. Just for sticking around till the end, it will help you make your life easier when it comes to wholesaling and give you access to the back door. Okay, so let's talk about goal number 1, the 5 most popular myths about investing in real estate. Let's dig in through it one after the other. C and C. You need cash and good credit. Do you need cash and good credit? No, you don't. Okay, you don't need cash, you don't need good credit, you don't need to see the property, you don't need to be present with the property to make money in real estate investing. No, you don't have to. Okay, you have to understand that cash and good credit, yes, is needed to complete transactions in the world that we live in, but it doesn't have to be yours. Okay, we live in the world. If you there's a book that you should have read by now, at least. It's called The Rich Dad Poor Dad. It talks to you about the overrating of cash and good credit in anything that you've ever thought about, or that you've been taught, right? Things are not always the way it seems. There's also time involved, there's skills involved. You can bring any one of those things to the table and partner with people that have cash and good credit, and you can make a deal happen. You get paid in cash. Okay, so stop thinking you have to have cash and good credit. There's a place for everyone. If you don't have good cash, good credit, you don't have to have those things to make money in real estate. Okay, also the idea that you know your hood better than everyone else, you should start local, that's BS now. Okay, that's out the window. We live in 2000 and digital, so you don't have to think like that anymore. It's a global village. You can do business anywhere as long as someone is receiving value from your activities right from behind your laptop, okay, with an internet connection. The third myth is that if you drive for dollars, you have access to data that no one else have access to. You can see properties that no one else can see on the internet. That's a lie. We all see all the properties on public record. We can all see them. Okay, all of us, we can see them, and we can even, at first, everyone was preaching that you couldn't see them. They're the best opportunity, but now they're teaching people to virtually drive for dollars. Okay, which is still BS. You spend time just browsing around the internet with the mouse, trying to drive through the streets with Google Map. Is BS. It's a waste of time. Okay, if you value your time, it's a waste of time. If you don't value time, you're right, maybe it's not a waste of time. If you don't have any value of time, if you can't find a job for $10 an hour, then maybe you're right. If you can find a regular job for $10 per hour minimum, that's absolutely a waste of your time, because just one of those hours you work, you can have access to thousands of data just like that. Okay, so let's throw that out the window. I will not be teaching you drive for dollars. Okay, I'm not completely against it. I just think there's a better way for you to spend your time, especially if you're looking to build this business virtually and you understand about scaling, you understand it's about how much value you can bring to how many people in the world, then it's not worth your time to be driving around for dollars. Okay, some people say it's a free strategy. Is driving for dollars a free strategy? No, it is not. Some people say knocking on doors is a free strategy. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, you want to make sure that you're despising free lunch if you want to make it in the game of entrepreneurship. By the way, this is entrepreneurship, and you want to despise, it's the 40th law in the 48 powers of law by Robert Greene. You want to despise free lunch because you know that everything costs money at the end of the day. That's only if you value your time. If you don't value your time, then obviously you spend 2-3 hours on something and then you feel like, oh, that was free. No, it wasn't free. You could have been working at $5 per hour. That was $15 right there. That $15 would have bought you access to at least a minimum of 10,000 pieces of data. Okay, so don't do that to yourself. You hear me talk about data a lot, and yes, you're gonna hear that a lot. Number 5, budget, that you need a lot of money. No, you don't need lots of money. You don't need lots of money. Will you need some money? Yes. Okay, but the answer is also no. Again, don't put any one of these resources on a pedestal. It's about which one do you have right now? How can you partner with people that have the ones you don't have? It's about being resourceful, okay? That's what it's about. I'm going to share some really, really good tips with you on how to be the most resourceful you can be here today. So that's the goal number one we just covered right there. We covered the myth, we got rid of it. Let's go on to the next one, which is the 10 steps definite guide to real estate investing and wholesaling. This is very important that you know this because it's the background to everything, okay? Number one, you want to get a list of distressed owners. Remember I told you earlier, we don't deal with on the market property. I'm not going to ask you to go to a realtor and start bothering them because you want access to see a property like a conventional buyer. You're not a conventional buyer, okay? Conventional buyers buy houses so they can live in it, okay? That's not what you're trying to do here, okay? You're trying to be an entrepreneur here. You're trying to create deals, okay? Where you can make 30, 40, $50,000 per deal, okay? Minimum $5,000, okay? Sometimes $3,000, yes, sure. But on an average, my deal averages around $25,000 per deal. So that's what you should be targeting. Can you sometimes make $10,000? Yes, of course. Okay. But the idea here is you don't want to get stuck with one deal anyway. You don't want to get stuck with one lead anyway. Like I said, if you're here and you only closed one deal, there's some people here in this room and they've closed one deal and they couldn't figure out anything else. I'm going to show you a system to do this over and over again. So the first step is to get a list of distressed owners. Okay. Some people say drive around for dollars, but that's not a list. That's wasting 1 hour. So you can find one property that looks like it's overgrown weed, but then that's like 1% of the work that you have to do on that property when you could have been doing that on 10,000 properties at the same time. Okay. Number one, get a list of distressed owners. Distressed owners, potentially distressed owners, meaning these people are on some kind of list. They owe money. They owe money. The property looks vacant. They are out of state owners. They are a landlord. They've owned the property for a while. They're a landlord, and it just looks like they also owe money to taxes. Those are the kind of list we're looking for. So number two, we need to contact with offer to buy. So these distressed owners, they have a property where they know we need to contact them somehow, some way. And we're going to talk about that in details. We need to contact them somehow, some way with an offer to buy the property. Number three, you need to negotiate a deep discount. Minimum of 75% or less. And then remember what I told you about the 70% rule. You need to adjust it for whatever is going to cost it. Estimate of whatever is going to cost to repair the property needs to be adjusted for that as well too. So it's not just $75,000. It's going to be $75,000 minus whatever the estimate to repair is. And I say 75% here because remember I told you if the market is very, if it's a busy market like the metropolitan cities like New York, like Phoenix, Arizona, like California, like LA, California, then you probably need to be around 75%. If it's like somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Alabama, you probably need to be around 55, 65%. Okay. So it just depends. Okay. So it's not exact science. There's a art and a science to this game. But the idea is to negotiate a deep discount. And number four, you need to once you agree to a price, you need to lock it under contract. That's the step number four. You need to lock it in the purchase contract. Basically, it's a purchase contract. Some people say it needs to have a clause so you can assign it. Actually, that's not necessarily true. As long as it doesn't say you can't assign it, then you can always assign it. Okay. And if you're dealing with a motivated seller, someone that absolutely needs to get rid of a property, they usually don't care if you have to adjust or you have to amend a contract or something like that. Even if your contract is completely perfect, right? If it's not a motivated seller, they can back out anytime. So the really key thing here is dealing with a distressed owner, a motivated seller. Number five, exercise or assign the contract. You can use the contract and actually buy the property and then fix it and flip it and make some profit, or you can assign the rights, the equitable rights in the contract to a person that will pay you an assignment fee. The highest that I've made is $82,000. We'll talk more about that later, right? Just from one deal, okay? But you can make $5,000, $10,000 just for assigning the contract to somebody else. Then you go look for another one. Then you go look for another one. Now, are you just going to look for another one? No, you create a system that's always looking anyway, okay? Number six, you want to close and or cash out wholesale. So if you close the deal, like this, you close if you're fixing and flipping it by yourself, or you can just cash out by wholesaling it, which is assigning the contract. Or You continue with the process. Step number 7. This is just the 10 steps definite guide to real estate investing, period, right? So if you were just going to invest and fix and flip, then you need to add value to the property, meaning you're fixing the property. Make sure you bring it up to market speed. Remember that example I gave you? You're basically making sure the property is worth $100,000, and somebody will come in, they will fall in love with it, curb appeal, everything is good to go, and then they pay you 100 grand, right? You add value to it, and then you rent out, or you list the property for sale with a realtor, right? So realtors are always involved. Agents, you list it with an agent, you pay them a little nice commission, and then you sell the property for a profit, right? Step number 9, you close and you cash out, okay? So beyond step number 6 here is you're actually doing the work yourself and you're flipping the property, right? But at number 6, you can actually cash out and assign that to somebody else and just focus on acquisition and just focus on finding these deals. In that case, you'll be labeled a wholesaler. That's when we call you wholesaling, right? All right, so step number 10, you rinse and repeat. You got to put this into a system. You will get frustrated. No amount of work is worth you doing all of this manually. I'm just letting you know upfront right now. System doesn't mean a bunch of technologies. It just means you have a process. Like this is a business for you, okay? Like you have a set of processes that is repeated and you can follow it over and over because it's predictable and you can repeat it over and over again. That's what it means. So those are the 10 steps, definite guide to real estate investing and wholesaling right there. Next, let's go on to goal number 3 today. That whole next step, right? That whole 10 step. We have the 10 steps in front of you right now. There are 2 necessarily evil sides of wholesaling. So right now we're going to dive in more and more into the wholesaling side of the business, because the idea of this is that you can do this from home. You don't have to go fix your property if you don't want to. If you decide to, you're only doing that to the best deals only, okay? So, but there are a lot of people that don't care about the best deals. They just want to make the next 10, 20, 30, $40,000 because they are the fix and flip properties, okay? They do the dirty work. They hire the contractors. There are people that do that. There are more than enough of them that are ready to buy the properties you find, okay? So there are 2 necessarily evil sides of the wholesaling game, and that's what I want to share with you here today. It's called acquisition. The first side is acquisition, where you basically you focus on finding these deals, okay? And then the next is called disposition, okay? So you find deals, you assign the deals. So at step number 5, I told you you're assigning the contract. As a wholesaler, you want to assign the contract to other people, and then you collect an assignment fee, and that's it. Your assignment fee can be $10,000, $15,000. How is that possible? So let's do a quick example math, okay? So a property is worth $100,000, all fixed up, right? You found it, right? And you were able to find somebody to accept an offer of $55,000. Why? Because the property needs lots of work worth about $10,000, right? So the property needs work. So they admitted it needs work. They called you, as a matter of fact, because the property needs work. They don't have the funds to put the property back in pieces. Not only that, they have a lien of $20,000 that they have to pay off, and they can't afford to continue to own this property, right? So what you did is that you locked the property under contract, step 4, at a price of $55,000, right? And then you now assign the deal to a person who is actually going to fix and flip the property. What is the assignment fee? They pay you $5,000 for the equitable rights in the contract that you locked, right? They pay you $5,000. Your job is done. They paid $55,000 for the property, right? So their total cost is $60,000. And now they turn around and spend $10,000 on fixing the property. Now their total cost is $70,000, right? And now they flipped the property for $100,000. They just made $30,000. That person just made $30,000. Of course, that's the gross profit they just made. They have to pay closing costs, they have to pay commissions and stuff like that. So they paid commission about 3%, that's $3,000. So that's $27,000. Closing costs another $5,000. Let's just say they made a net profit of $20,000. The idea is they want to do that over and over again. They spent what, $70,000? They made $20,000. People will do that all day long, and basically you make $5,000 for finding the deal, okay? So acquisition is step 1 through 4, Everything that happens from exercising the assigning the contract is called disposition. Okay, those are the two necessary evil sides of wholesaling that the gurus never talk about. Why? Because to find the distressed owners, that's actually marketing activities, okay? But to find the buyers as well too, the person, the able and willing investor that's actually going to pay you for the contract and then pay for the property, that's also another marketing activity, okay? Most businesses have one marketing activity. Most businesses, right? But in real estate, there's usually two sides, two necessarily sides, and they don't talk about that. And marketing costs resources, okay? It can cost you time, it can cost you money, it can cost you energy. So you need to understand this so you can know where to put your energy, so you can know where to focus on, where do you want to become an expert. That's why I keep telling people there are multiple ways to make money in real estate. But one of the ways to not make money in real estate is to think you can do everything. You need to understand that there's a whole system in place called real estate, providing shelter for people. That's why we make money. But there's also a place you can focus on. And when you find a specialty and you focus on that, that's when you make the most money, because you just focus on that. You become an expert in that area, and you let everyone else do what they do. Okay. Now, we're going to be focusing on acquisition the most here, because this is about virtual wholesaling and finding deals from your laptop, and then let everyone else do everything else, okay? They will love you because you're also putting food on the table for all of these families, okay? So I just want you to understand that you're not just alone here. There are people waiting for you to learn these skills so that it can pay you $5,000 over and over again. It's only $5,000 in that example because it's only $100,000. If you're dealing with $400,000 homes, that means you can expect about $20,000. It doesn't necessarily progressively scale back and forth with purchase price, but that's the idea, okay? That's the idea. You need to understand that the bigger the deal is, the more money you can make, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is entrepreneurship, and you make money in percentages, not in in linear, incremental, if you know what I mean, okay? So let's go now. Now that you know that there are two evil sides of wholesaling, we're going to be focusing on acquisition for the most part. And there's a way to get the disposition part of it done without you touching it. We're going to talk about that soon too. So let's go to step number the three secrets, right? Let's cover the DDS three secrets. What is the DDS three secret? These three secrets, it's paramount. Once you understand what this is, you can basically win. Okay, you can know, just have this at your back pocket all the time when you're thinking about wholesaling, you're thinking about virtual wholesaling, and frankly, honestly, when you're thinking about any kind of business. But I'm going to be using wholesaling because that's what we're touching here today as the main example. But if you have any type of business out there, you can literally steal the secrets and then find a way how it aligns with your business. Okay, first one is data. You need access to data. We live in 2000 and digital. There's no such thing as building a business without data intelligence, okay? All right, so even for you to get from point A to point B physically with your car, you need data. It's data that they use to show you where you're going on the GPS. It's data, and it's data being collected by the users, meaning including you, okay? So the idea here is that data is the first secret. You need access to data. I'm going to show you, there's a demo. I'm going to show you where you have unlimited access to millions upon millions of data so you can know what to do with it. Okay, but you have access to data. When you go drive for dollars, if you bought into the idea of driving for dollars and you go write down addresses, guess what you're doing? You're collecting data. It's just that you're doing it at the speed of snail. You're doing it at the speed of like extremely slow, like at the speed of 1918. Okay, so you don't want to be doing that. You want to be able to have access to millions of data at your fingertips very fast, and you can. I'm going to give you free access to a software that will let you do that without having to waste your time on knocking on doors just to collect data. Or, knocking on doors is kind of like an outreach, but driving for dollars by itself is definitely a data collection activity, and is the slowest and the most expensive you will ever do it. But I'm going to give you a software that will give you access to all of that, okay? Depth, okay? The second secret is depth. So you have access to 10 million pieces of data, right? What do you do with that? Now you got to dig in through that data. Basically, you have to analyze the data, okay? There's data of all of the pre-foreclosures in your county. That's not good enough, all right? You need to find information inside of that data. You need to create intelligence inside of that data that shows you the people that are most likely going to be willing to sell. Just going after foreclosure is not good enough. It was good enough when I started back in 2005. All I did was send letters to pre-foreclosures, and I was closing deals back and forth once I started doing that consistently. But in this time and age, you can't do that. It's extremely expensive to be doing that because, trust me, everyone else is doing it, right? They're sending letters, they're calling them. You don't want to be doing that. You need intelligence in how you approach these things. And how you do that is by digging through the data. And you want to be able to do that using softwares. You want to be able to do that using technology without having to learn techie stuff. I'm not telling you have to learn techie stuff. I'm just telling you need tools, and you need to be able to do that. You need to dig through the data. You need to have depth when you're analyzing the data, basically. So does this pre-foreclosure, is it vacant? Is it also out-of-state owner? Do they own a lien? The more of those things that they have, the more chances that they are motivated, okay? So I have a filter that you apply to the data, and it basically brings you out the best pieces of data. It's a lot less, so it costs you a lot less to do an outreach to these people, and you don't have to worry about wasting your money and your resources on people that are not necessarily willing to sell. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about another topic in a second, but the second secret to really winning big in this game is depth. So that's the second acronym there, is D. And the third secret is solutions. What do I mean by that? You don't want to approach the business like, hey, I'm a buyer. You don't want to be approaching the business like, I'm a wholesaler. Definitely don't call yourself a wholesaler. The worst thing you can do when you're dealing with a seller is to call yourself a wholesaler. Oh yeah, we do wholesaling. Never, ever, ever say we do wholesaling. That's industry terminology. Your users, the people that are going to use your service, they don't need to know that. If you throw them off, it sounds like a scam, frankly, to be honest with you. Wholesaling is a trade terminology. It just means you buy something a lot cheaper than what it's actually worth. Why would you do that? Because you want to add value to it and put it back on the marketplace for a profit, right? So, but they may not have maybe they don't have that kind of comprehension. You don't want to waste your time explaining what wholesaling is to your seller. You are simply an investor, or at the very minimum, you're part of an investment group. You're part of an investment system. We invest in real estate like yours, and we're interested in your property. And it's as simple as that. But in that conversation, you need to find what problems, you need to have them admit to the problems that they have. So if they hold liens on the property, if the property is approaching foreclosure, if you need to pick out problems so that you can become a problem solver. And that's the third secret, okay? You need to approach the game like you're a problem solver, like you are a solution for the seller's problems. If you don't, you will get frustrated. You will hear things like, how did you get my number? You will hear things like, why are you calling me? You will hear things like, wait, you're the 50th person that called me today. Why are you calling me? No, I don't want to sell, right? You will hear crazy objections that some gurus will try to teach you how to overcome, but honestly, you're wasting your time, okay? You need to be a solution to the people you deal with. When you apply depth into the data, right, you naturally will have more than enough problems to solve. You just got to get them to admit to it, and there are ways to talk to them to get them to admit it, because frankly they're going through so much problem with that property, and they can't wait for someone to show up, or for a number to show up in their mail, or for a SMS text message to show up that they can call and say, yeah, can you help me get rid of this piece of crap? They can't wait. When you apply the DDS 3 secrets, those 3 secrets right there needs to be in your back pocket when you approach this game, especially if you're going to do it virtually. You definitely don't want to miss out on any one of these 3 secrets. You need it applied. If you don't, you will waste your time, you will get frustrated, and you will blame it back on the game. And that's the worst thing that can happen to you. All right, so we just covered the 3 DDS secret of virtual wholesaling. But the 10 steps that I shared with you earlier is quite a bit, okay? But I'm going to reduce that to 7 steps, because this is about virtual and remote wholesaling workflow now, okay? We already talked about the 2 necessarily evil sides of the game. But now, all right, so this is the virtual wholesaling workflow right here. It's slightly different from the one I showed you earlier, which is purely just real estate investing. But when you're going to do this from your laptop, these are the steps, okay? You can do all of this 7 steps from your laptop. You get a list of distressed owners, okay, potentially distressed owners, okay? That's pre-foreclosures. Again, there's a certain way. I'm going to show you, I'm going to demo it for you. I have a special guest actually that's going to help me demo it together with you, right? Show you how it works and how you can stack all of these different motivations against each other so you can apply depth to the data so you have a higher chance of being a solution when you do establish a contact with these people, because the step 2 is to contact with an offer to buy. But you're not just going to contact everyone. You need to contact the people with the highest chances that they actually will entertain your conversation. Step number 3, negotiate a deep discount. Like I said, a minimum, okay, less than or equal to 75%. If your market is very competitive, you're probably going to be around 75%. If your market is like an average market in the United States, you should be around 65%, okay? Step number 4, lock it under contract. You can do that all virtually. There's something called DocuSign. It's called DocuSign, and a secured signature can be established using digital, even a phone, okay? And it's locked in and it's secured and it's legal contract signed, okay? I'll give you access to all of that, okay? Step number 5, you assign the deal, okay? You assign the deal. That's step number 5. You assign the contract. So now you're not trying to fix up the property. You're not trying to close. No, you're not trying to close by yourself. You assign the equitable right of that contract from step 4. You assign it to a person in exchange for an assignment fee. You close, you cash out. Step 6. You close and you cash out so you can move on back to step number 1. You rinse and repeat. You create a system out of that. That's virtual wholesaling. All of that will be done from your laptop, okay? Now, with that being said, the disposition side of it is assigning, closing and cash out, then, rinse and repeat, But the disposition side of it is still another business entirely, because you have to now generate leads for buyers, right? But we're going to talk about that in a second. But I just wanted to share with you the 7 steps of virtual remote wholesaling workflow. Honestly, you're going to be just focused on maybe 4, maybe a little bit of the 5th step right there. Okay, so now let's get into the heart and the science of joint venture to solve that quick problem right there. So basically, remember I told you you're gonna be part of step 5 a little bit, right? This is where the heart and the science of joint ventures come in. So you're doing virtual wholesaling. You live in New Jersey like myself, and you're trying to do business in Houston. Absolutely possible when you focus on step 1 through 5 alone, okay? But you need help with assigning and finding and generating leads of people that are going to be buying and paying your assignment fees, right? So you can partner with other people that are on ground, other wholesalers, other professionals, other real estate professionals. You can partner with agents that deal with cash buyers to find the people that will pay your assignment fees and people that will actually execute the contract that you locked in step number 4. So you can see it's grayed out a little bit. The assignment is based on relationship. You can create relationships all around the nation like that, and you don't have to worry about that until you actually have a deal. So here's what I mean by that. This is where the heart comes in, okay? It's a heart and a science, right? This is the science of it you're looking at here in 7 steps. Only 5 steps is yours, and that 5 steps is a system, right? But the heart of it is, you need to understand this about relationships, right? But you don't want to think about step 8 until you get there. You don't want to think about step 7 until you get there. Heck, you don't want to think about step 2 until you get done and learn how to do step number 1. And that's the difference with what I'm teaching you here right now and what you will hear out there. One of the biggest mistakes that people do is they're trying to master everything first before they get started. No, you need to do step number 1. It's as simple as that. Stay focused on step number 1. Once you master step number 1, then it should be no issue to go on to step number 2 and start contacting these people with an offer to buy the property. Then once people start responding to that, then you can start talking about how to negotiate, how to talk with people, which again, I'll teach you how to talk to people. But your conversation should be as simple ask, are you open to an offer on the property? Why wouldn't they be open to an offer on the property when they're in foreclosure? They're out of state. They owe money on the properties. The property, they don't want to deal with this property. They clearly can't afford to deal with this property any longer, right? That's why the property is defaulting, right? So we're going to talk all about that. But this is the heart right here. It's about relationships. But when you get there, you deal with that. If you have a deal you just locked under contract and stuff like that, then there's a way to pull up the data of people. Again, it goes back to data, right? You pull up the data of people that have access to the resources to help you do 6, 7, and 8. And that's how you make money. Okay? That's how you make money. That's the heart and the science of joint venture. You will be making money with other people, which means it's a protection. It's actually a form of protection for your business. Okay, get list of distressed owners. You contact with offer to buy. That's step number 2. Now, the contacting with the offer to buy, there's a few channels that's involved in that. Okay, some people claim that driving for dollars is one of those, but it's not. Driving for dollars is purely data collection. Okay. Some people say, but you can meet people on the road and talk to them on the side. But that, again, you're not setting up a system. You're not thinking about this business as a system when you're thinking that way. You're just looking to throw mud at the wall and hope that something sticks. You're looking to get lucky. That's why a few folks will close one deal and they can't close the next one, because everything is not a system for them, right? If you're going to make it in this game, you should think in terms of system, meaning repetitive steps that's predictable when it comes to the result it will provide you. Okay, and the 4 contact and marketing channels that we're going to be using, that I'm going to share with you, the first one is Facebook. Okay, the second one is SMS text messages. Okay, you can use SMS text messages to pick people's interest and see if they're interested in talking to you. As a matter of fact, you should not be talking to anyone that you didn't exchange text with first. Okay, you may say, but they may be 90 years old, they don't do text messages. That's a negligible factor. Don't worry about that. You need to be, again, you got to be thinking systems. You got to be thinking data. You got to be thinking about how to get through millions of data in 1 minute, as opposed to spending 100 minutes on one piece of data. That's how you want to be thinking about this game. The third one is SMS. Sorry, the second one is RVM. It's called ringless voicemails. You ever got those messages on your phone and it was a voicemail and you don't actually recall the phone ringing, right? That happens to you, right? The phone never rang, you saw a missed call and you see a voicemail and somebody's trying to sell you something. It's called RVM, ringless voicemails. We want to show you how to use those, okay? SMS text messages, okay? Like I said earlier, but these are messages that will pick people's interest and see if they're interested in talking to you, okay? Remember, you're going to have access to all of the information you need to reach out to these people. Phone numbers, right? Phone numbers. Facebook is a separate type of beast altogether. If that's what you choose, there's a particular way to do that as well too. Okay, very simple though. Okay, and the fourth one is postcards. Postcards still work. You just don't want to be spending tons of money on postcards, and you collect 2,000 lists of everyone in your county and then you just send postcards. You're wasting money, you're wasting resources, because most of those people are not going to be interested in talking to you. Plus, everyone else is doing that. How do you plan to stand out? What you want to do is apply the secret number 2, depth, into that data first, and then you want to go through at least 2 of the first 3 marketing channels, and then you can use postcards as a icing on the cake, because there's also follow-up to the game. Follow-up is really, really key in the game. Okay, so when they've heard from you and then that they're now seeing a postcard, it just makes it increase the chances of them reaching out back to you, that yes, they're open to selling their property. And you can see right there, the marketing message is very simple. We buy houses fast, for cash, any condition, any location, call me today. It's really that simple. It's about the system. Don't try to tweak that message. Don't try to change it. Don't try to get creative. Creative people don't make money. Okay, most creative people are not going to be Jay-Z. Okay, for a reason, because they're not going to think systems. Okay, most creative people, they need to express themselves all the time. That's why you see them on Instagram. They answer to every criticism. But people that are the biggest people in the world don't answer to every criticism. Most people, they don't have time for that. They have a system to address any criticism that can be damaging for their business. But beyond that, it's all a system. It's a PR system. You got to think of your wholesaling game, the wholesaling real estate investing game, as the same thing. You need to think of it as a system, okay? Keep it simple. We buy houses fast cash, any condition, any location. Call me today. Anything else really doesn't matter as long as they pick up that phone and they call you or reach out back to you. That's where you want to be dealing with them. As a matter of fact, that's a way for you to pre-filter them. That's another way for you to add depth to all of those millions of data that you have, right? You're adding depth to it by making sure that these people are actually interested in this marketing message before you waste your time talking to them. All right. The flip side of it is that they teach you cold calling, right? When you cold call, you basically have to sell them on meeting you. That's a big work to do. That's a whole lot of work to do, to have to sell a person that they need you. Then you're missing the third secret, which is solution. You're not showing up as a solution to people's problem. But when people reach out back to you because you've engaged 4 contact marketing channels that I recommend based on attraction marketing only, right? You are adding depth, the second secret to the game, and by default, you are now a solution because that person has a problem. That's why they're reaching out to you. You're now a solution to their problem, okay? So with that being said, you contact, that's how we contact with an offer to buy. We don't contact them by having to sell them. We contact them, we put the marketing message in front of them, okay? And then we manage our resources by making sure we had depth, right? That's also part of how you manage your resources. Your resources is time, money, and energy, right? One way or the other, right? Time, money, and energy. So whatever the best mix of those, to only make sure you're placed in front of the right people, that's what you want to do. Okay, that means you're only talking to people, the right people that you've exchanged a few text messages and say, when is a good time to jump on the phone, and they're open to that. Okay, negotiate a deep discount. Step 3, we already talked about that. That's easier if you do step 2 the right way. Step 3 is easy. Then step 4 becomes that much easy. If you have to sell them on talking to you on step 2, then your work is basically exponentially increasing as you go through all the steps. That's why you got to get step 1, step 2, you got to get those right. And step 5, you assign, rinse, and repeat. And when I say that, I don't just mean go back and do 101, one at a time. You need to build a system that allows you to do this concurrently. You can do multiple deals at a time. Money is not the problem. If it's a deal, there's more than enough money in the marketplace. Then you can basically thrive. You can survive this, and you can actually thrive beyond that. But the most important thing I want to keep with you here is keep it simple and put yourself in a position where you can keep it simple and consistent, okay? That's why I don't like driving for dollars, because it's harder to stay consistent. It's just harder. Now, could you stay consistent? Yes. As people gotten lucky? Yes. Are people creating systems out of driving for dollars and knocking on doors? Yes. But it's usually because they're not involving their personal time. So here we're going to teach you how to build a real business. A real business in this time and age is about data. And without any further ado, we're going to talk about data. We're going to talk about, because the first few steps that I talked about there, I talked about list, right? List of distressed owners. That's essentially just data, and being able to collect data and analyze data and do it very quickly, very fast, cost efficiently, time efficiently is really the key to surviving and thriving in business in the digital age. Obviously, data, digital age, right? So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend here from PropStreams, Button here. He's going to show you what we're using now to automate that whole process. It's going to show you some really, really cool stuff. So, Button, are you there?
Hey, how's it going, Ola?
What's up, brother? Thank you so much for coming on to show us some really cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I love what you've said so far. And you're absolutely right. Number one is definitely the distressed owners. So let me go ahead and teach your people how to go ahead and identify that. Because I'm a firm believer, like you mentioned, we're here to help find problems. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So let me get my screen over to you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me get this over to you here. And so with PropStream, there are essentially 4 different ways that you can build or essentially search a market, right? So our system allows for 2 things: to build a list And then once you build that list, make contact, essentially analyze the properties. So in order to build a list, you're going to have 4 ways of searching a market. And the first way is to search a county level. To do that, all you have to do is essentially type in the name of a county, comma, the name of the state, and you'll see in the drop-down menu the ability to click on that county. When you do that, you will see all of the county records. Not only will you see those records, but we will break them up in their individual categories. So you'll see how many properties are in our MLS category, pre-foreclosure, all the way down to high equity. And then we do have a few more in our filter. After high equity, we have free and clear, bankruptcy, divorce, tax delinquencies, flippers, and failed listings. So the idea for an investor using our platform is to search a market and then choose any of the existing 8 or go straight into the filter, choose one of our 14 categories. And once you select one of those, it now can add more layers to it. So that is the way to essentially build a list with PropStream. And again, the 4 ways of searching a market is county level. You can search a city level. You just obviously get city level results. You can search a zip code. And with zip codes, you can actually search up to 5. In order to do so, you're going to want to make sure there's a comma and a space after each one. And as you can see here, here's 2 zip codes, 2 separate results. And then the last possible search you can do is actually using the draw search feature located on the map itself here at the upper left-hand side. Essentially, you're going to want to zoom in on an area. It can't be a large area. So just do note that the search feature, the draw search feature, is designed for a very small area. But what you're going to want to do is click on that icon, and then through several left clicks, you'll be able to identify an area, hit the search button, and only the results within that shape will populate. So here I'm able to identify how many pre-foreclosures and cash buyers in that area. So first thing I wanted to let you guys know is how to essentially populate your results. Once you identify the level of a search you're trying to perform, whether you're capable of doing the whole county, a zip code, or a city, once you get your results, it's now just a matter of going into our filter and finding these motivated sellers. Now, do be careful because some of the categories are not your motivated sellers, like your cash buyers and your flippers. But for the most part, everything else could potentially be a motivated seller, like a pre-foreclosure. Yes. So here we can look for pre-foreclosure, and of the 521 that we have, we can now add more layers to it. So we can go through 521 results. PropStream here won't stop you from doing that. Or to make your life a little bit easier, we can start narrowing down the specific category of pre-foreclosure that we're looking for. For example, maybe those of you are looking for a non-owner occupied pre-foreclosure. Maybe it's occupied by a tenant or not occupied by a tenant, a vacant property. Then you're going to go into property characteristics and specify the type of property you're looking for. Is it a residential, commercial, vacant land? So as you make your selection, you'll then be able to choose the type of residential property in this case. Is it single family, an apartment, a duplex, quadplex? As you make your selection, you'll notice that your results will get lower and lower. So you do have other property characteristics to play with. Once you're done with property characteristics, this is where list stacking now comes into play. So since I'm looking for pre-foreclosure, and since PropStream also has access to the MLS, that's what the next filter category is. Here you're able to stack or refine the MLS. So if I'm looking for a pre-foreclosure, I'm able to determine whether that pre-foreclosure is on market, whether it's off market, which is what most of us are looking for. Mm-hmm. If it's off market, this is where we can start adding extra layers of motivation, right? Being in pre-foreclosure is one thing, but could you imagine being in pre-foreclosure and then also failing on the market recently? Right. So there are 23 property owners that are much more highly motivated than the remaining, 490 odd numbers that are 83, 98, 498. So that is essentially how our system works, is that we can use all these multiple records and consolidate into one result list. So that way we're not just finding, again, just any level of motivation, but a very high level of motivation. And then It continues.
Awesome. So some people call that expired listings, the one that you just pointed out that says failed. Some people call that expired listings, right?
That is correct.
Have tried to sell a house, but maybe it was on the market for 3 to 6 months, and then the listing agreement kind of expired.
Correct.
Right.
And the cool thing with PropStream too is because we've done this for 15 years, when you click on a property, you'll be able to see these records that you were actually asking for. So in the MLS details, we can see how long it lasted on the market. We can
Right.
see if there's been any price adjustments, and that's going to go for every single property here. So this property lasted nearly a year on the market before it
Wow.
failed. And we can see over that course of a year, beginning in 2018 here, that there's been several price adjustments. It's been going lower and lower and lower, up down to 565. That's almost a $20,000 drop in price right there. So you can see things like that. And so that's exactly what failed listings is an expired listing, or essentially the way they don't really call it expired listings in the realm of the brokerage. It's just a property that didn't sell successfully through an agent.
That didn't sell. Right. Okay, awesome. Now, quick question for you. Let me rewind you back a little bit. You mentioned stacking. Can you break down stacking a little bit for people that may be brand new to the game of real estate investing, or even, I mean, that's more like a data term, right?
Yes, that's correct. And I'm a visual learner, so I made a graph for you guys on how I explain data list stacking and list suppression, which is a new term now that you're going to hear quite frequently. So let me show you this graph, and let's look at this little white line here as the level of motivation that the homeowner you're trying to contact is going to go through.
I don't see the graph yet, just so you know.
Let's see here. Let me make sure I share my screen. Here we go. Do you see that graph now?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So this is my graph. I've been doing data for a good 7.5 years. This is just how my mind breaks it down, and I hope this helps you understand what I see. So we're looking for motivation. And so this white line here is the representation of motivation. And so as it goes higher, you can see it gets red. That means the homeowner is in stress, right? So when you understand the homeowner's predicament, you're going to have to understand the 3 stages a homeowner is going to go in through, right? The first stage is they're good. They buy a home, or they're a cash buyer, or they have a lot of equity, or they're a free and clear property, or they're a flipper just like you guys. They're not selling properties at discounted price in this category, right? Now, granted, we can take any of these and turn them into a motivated seller, and that's what list stacking is. So we can take a high equity list and say, hey, I'm looking for a high equity list that has a vacancy on it, not addressing their mail. So we just took that high equity list and we put what I call the uh-oh label on it, right? So it's a high equity with a vacant attachment to it, because vacants from the U.S. Postal Service, it just says someone's not answering their mail, or a high equity that just went through a bankruptcy or a divorce. So we went from good to uh-oh. And so now this is where that motivation is increasing. Now, again, 3 stages. Good, uh-oh, and then I need help, right? So the I need help is pretty much your pre-foreclosures, your auctions. These are the last stages before the lender takes back possession of the property. Now, in some states, it's a redemption state. So you may be able to work with foreclosures in those states. So knowing the 3 stages, this is how PropStream can help you. What I did was I searched a pre-foreclosure. And so if pre-foreclosures start right here on that motivation meter, by me looking for a pre-foreclosure with a failed listing or a pre-foreclosure with a bankruptcy, I've increased that homeowner's level of motivation. What it's doing is it's a numbers game, right? I'm a data guy, I'm an analytical guy. What I'm doing is, by stacking 2 pain points, I'm doing one of 2 things. I'm saving money and time, right? Absolutely. I'm not marketing to everybody. I'm marketing to a specific audience, but I'm also increasing the ratio of not having to make that many follow-ups or phone calls, right? Yeah. So again, saving time and money by weeding out who's more motivated than the other pre-foreclosures. And again, ensuring that the ratio of contact is not as long as someone who's not as motivated, right? Like these guys with the lien, they may take 6 months before they decide. And so our system allows for list stacking to increase motivation, or if a category is too competitive, like pre-foreclosure, list suppression, so you can get ahead of the curve.
See, this is what we call resource management. You know, I have partners and I have people in my circle that tend to get into arguments sometimes about this kind of stuff. Yes, you can go ahead and just send all your resource, your marketing budget through free and clear or high equity. And I mean, if you have that kind of deep pocket, please be my guest. But even if you have deep pockets like that, don't you want to keep that money though? Isn't that part of the game, right? So I'm definitely on the same page with you. When I started back in 2005, I marketed strictly to pre-foreclosures, and a majority of my deals were short sales.
Yep.
And that's the kind of, and it took, sometimes we'll sit on a file for 2 years. Sometimes the deal will close in 2 weeks, and that was the game. It's about keeping for lack of better words, you're keeping a stack of a few of them that you're doing at any point in time, so that you always have something that's closing, and then everything in between. Bankruptcy. Some people will say, yeah, the best is the tax delinquency. I say, well, I don't know about just tax delinquency as by itself. Now, if you had it together with tax delinquency plus it's free and clear, right? Then we may have, the conversation will be a lot better in the direction of, I can actually solve a problem for someone.
Right.
But if you go straight to somebody who owns the house free and clear, and if you go there, you're just essentially, you're saying, hey, can I offer to buy your house? And they're like, yeah, if the number makes sense. That's when you already know something is wrong. When they tell you that if the number makes sense, that means don't waste my time. That's basically what they're trying to say. And if you have enough of that, you're wasting your time and your money on enough of that, you're not going to be in business. You're going to be wasting resources. The biggest resource is time. And then you're probably wasting money marketing to those people as well, too. So definitely, this is a fantastic chart right here that someone should actually stare at, in my opinion.
Well, most definitely. Again, I'm a visual learner, so I hope this helped. But this right here really kind of emphasizes the power of PropStream. So let me give you an example, since we're still technically on number one on building distressed owners. So now that we know how to search a market, and in this case, what I've done is show you a category where 23 results are on the higher end of the motivation chart. Let me show you the essentially other end of why some people may not only just do pre-foreclosure, but, and Ola might agree to this, it's a very competitive category for many reasons. And here are the top three I can think of. It's going to be a very big discounted area, right? I like to think of this as beggars can't be choosers. You either work with me and we pay your mortgage and give you a little bit to kind of reset it all over again, but not full price. But if we can do it, we can, like Ola say, maybe close in 2 weeks, and we don't have to worry about a lender taking you and destroying your credit history and all that other negative stuff that comes with a foreclosure, right? Same with auction. So big discounts, faster closing, because again, you're racing against time. But it is also very competitive. So most successful investors have multiple pipelines. So not only are they doing pre-foreclosures with either low motivation or high motivation, but they're also looking ahead of the game, right? Because they know a bankruptcy could lead into a pre-foreclosure, a tax delinquency could lead into a lien, which then could lead into a pre-foreclosure, right? So PropStream allows you to kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit by doing not only list stacking, but also list suppression. So let's say we're in Miami, Florida, for example. When we're in Miami, there are 4,423 pre-foreclosures, and I know that there's a ton of investors in Miami, so I'm competing against them, against these 4,000. So these homeowners may have gotten 15, may have gotten 17 phone calls already, right, from different investors. And guess what? I'm not encouraging to not do it. I'm encouraging to understand that things are going to get a little bit creative in this category. Your marketing might need to change. Postcards might need to get colorful, right? So things like that will have to apply in a very competitive category. But because of list suppressing, look what I can do. There are 15,000 liens. And remember, a lien can turn into a pre-foreclosure. So check this out. I'm in Miami. I'm now looking for a lien.
Excuse me. Pause for a second. I did mention pre-foreclosure, 2005. You got to understand that 2005 to 2020 is like 1,500 years in terms of competition right now, and the need to really, really be creative. So continue, please. I just wanted to point that out.
No, absolutely. And that's a lot of people, to add more to that, a lot of people say, what can I do with pre-foreclosure? How can I get contact? And the reality is, again, guys, this is the chart here I showed you. When someone hits a pre-foreclosure, when a notice of default hits, the shelf at the clerks and it's pushed.
Lawyers.
It's okay. Best analogy I can give you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but think of it this way: we're all firefighters, right? And we're all in our own helicopter. And remember, we get paid to put out fires, so we're above this rainforest, and a pre-foreclosure is that fire. We see a fire, we all rush to it. However, if you have the ability to expand, maybe do multiple leads, not only should you be going after the fire, but remember there is smoke. Smoke turns into fire, right? So the what I'm doing here is, since we do get paid to put out fires, this is why some of us ignore the smoke, because we know that, hey, we only have 30 days to work with it, or we want to close right away. Hey, that's fine. But if this is something that you're going to be involved in for a long time, then why not start early, right? Because of two very reasons. When you're getting ahead of the curve, you're able to essentially beat out your competition, but understand this level of motivation isn't as high. So this is where I'm sure you've taught your students this. This is where follow-up is very, very important. So on your first phone call, you might get cussed out. They might say, I don't know what you're talking about, or I got it under control. 30 days go by, another 30 days go by. By the fourth or fifth follow-up, hopefully you've proven your transparency, you've proven how genuine you are, and you've proven that you actually have an alternative for them to get out of this predicament. And in so doing so, we get a contract. Now, in the event, because this potentially could happen, then following up for 4 months, 5 months, they still go into pre-foreclosure, right? Guess what's going to happen? All of a sudden, all these other investors are going to start calling, right? Because there's people only waiting for that fire.
Right.
So when they go into pre-foreclosure, all of these investors are going to start calling. And then when you call, whose phone number is going to stand out?
I'm getting excited, man. You have the relationship. You have relationship equity. They know you. Of course, they're going to get bombarded by everyone, including lawyers, attorneys. Everybody is going to, if you've ever received one of those letters because you got a ticket, got a bunch of them in the mail, right? You don't want to wait until then. You got to get a little bit more creative than that.
Exactly.
The sweet spot is in between.
There it is, guys. And so that's why I encourage people to open up your pipeline, do your pre-foreclosures, but also understand there are people that are still in the stage, and they don't understand that, they need an alternative because, again, they're in denial. The reality hasn't set in. So here's a perfect example of what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for liens in Miami. Same scenario, non-owner occupied, residential, single family, just like before. We're going to do off market. Right. Actually, let's do it even better. Let's do failed listing, just like we did with the pre-foreclosures, right? But this time they're not in pre-foreclosure yet. Yes. So think about that. They have a lien. They wanted to sell and they couldn't sell, but they're not in pre-foreclosure yet. So we have two pain points. So we do have levels of motivation, two of them, but we're not here. We're not in the need help yet. We're here. We're in the, I got a lien and I also wanted to sell. So we're in two pain points, but we're here. So what do I know from my standpoint without calling them? They have a predicament, which is that they got to pay that lien, right? The lien holders want their money. And their assumption is, hey, I'm just going to sell my house. And after I sell it, I'm going to pay the lien off, pay my mortgage off, and pocket the rest.
Right.
Everyone will get off my back.
And we know they tried already.
Exactly. And so they failed. So I can now focus on 10 properties more than the 15. But again, just note that you can get very specific. This is a numbers game. So if you're on a budget.
And to be more specific, you get to focus your resources on this 10 people. It's not about, hey, what do you mean focus? I don't need to, I could do more. No, you have limited resources. You can turn it to unlimited by analyzing the data first.
Absolutely. And that's what I encourage people to understand. We don't know the level of investor you are. I hope that we go from 10 one day to 2 months later, you're doing 500 at a time, right? So just know that in our system, you can get very granular. You can add multiple layers or you can keep it simple. Most of us would have just simply said on market, no, and lien, but not in pre-foreclosure. So again, 251 properties heading into the pre-foreclosure category, but not there yet. But I can kind of give that a little push. Why? Because I want it to be an individual, not a corporation. Corporations probably have more options than an individual. This individual has been committed to this property because they've been living in it for 7 years or more. And then last but not least, how do you get out of a lien? You got to make that payment, but you also have an active bankruptcy on your property. Or in this case, we don't have any properties that fit that category. So what I'm going to do is just build another layer. Well, in that case, if you don't have a bankruptcy, what if that tax lien I'm looking for starts at 5,000 or more, right?
Now, some people always talk about the bankruptcy part. Maybe you can clear that up for us. When somebody has an active bankruptcy, they have to go through the court system. And I guess, does it depend on the state? They have to go all the way through the court system before they can actually sell. They can sell anytime in between. Is there some kind of obstacles there that people
Yes,
should?
there are multiple obstacles. I am not a bank attorney, but there is different chapters. 7 and 13 are usually the most ones that you're going to see in the real estate market. And yeah, some bankruptcies will actually be tied to real assets. So therefore, if that bankruptcy is tied to the property in question, then you're going to have to go through several hurdles in order for that sale to be a legitimate sale. Because if it does sell, the entities that have filed for, or the entities that have been affected with the person filing bankruptcies are going to want obviously a piece of the pie. So yeah, definitely get with a bankruptcy expert. Or we live, like you mentioned earlier, we're living in a digital age. Go online. There's YouTube
and
videos.
read it.
Exactly. There are Facebook groups of realtors that only do bankruptcy stuff, and so you could potentially maybe speak to someone there.
Absolutely.
So in this case, yeah, we can done the lien bankruptcy. Since we didn't get any results there, what I'm now looking for is just looking for a high amount of a lien. So maybe someone that has. Because you can see here, we have one with like $500,
we don't want the $200.
Exactly. So we can do like $1,900 and more. So now we have those 20 properties, and then we wrap it up by, since we're wholesaling it, we got to make sure there's 50% in equity and or more. Now, you brought up a point earlier, and this is something that I've also been pushing out there. It's a philosophy I have called: a lead is not a list, a lead is a problem. And to push that idea even more, I'm going to show you how I can build a lead in any market without using any lists. And so here's a perfect example. I'm in Miami, and what I'm going to do is, if you guys are looking for vacant, again, I'm trying to stay away from you. I'll look for an owner-occupied property.
Right.
If you're looking for a failed listing, well, I'll just look for something that's not in any MLS records at all. While you're looking for pre-foreclosures, I'll suppress the pre-foreclosures. And while you're looking for bankruptcies, divorces, and liens, I will suppress those categories. So as you're looking for a list, which most of us are taught, and that's great because you should still do that. I'm not discouraging for that. But what I'm trying to emphasize is PropStream can let you get creative. And so here's the creativeness. I've suppressed all public records that most investors would normally look for. And now the problem I'm building is that this is a non-owner occupied property with a tenant. Right? The building of this property, so it's residential single family, is 30 years or older. So it's a 30-year-old. That's part of the conversation I could potentially have when speaking to this homeowner. What are you going to do about that roof? It's going to cost quite a bit.
I like where you're going with that.
So problem is not only that you're cash flowing, and I don't know if you guys are watching this video. I know this is going to be replayed in the future, but right now, this very moment that we're doing this this video, we're quarantined. Right?
Yeah.
Biggest issue right now, people losing their jobs. And I think some of the biggest people that are impacted right now are landlords. Exactly. Landlords. So a landlord with an occupied tenant, that could potentially be a problem that we could solve, because if this tenant lost their job and they're not paying rent, that owner is in a predicament, a problem.
Yeah, it's the first core pillar. I called it value.
Exactly.
Look for a way to solve a problem, and all these data points are yours for the taking. Just to get creative. Some things will come to your mind in the middle of the night, and you're like, what about landlords that are tired? I can't wait to get to.
There it is. And this is what we're doing. So I'm looking for a non-owner occupied who has a tenant. It's individually owned, not a corporation. So this is a person managing their own property for the last 15 years or more. And get this, they're not even in the same state. So now the headache is you're in a whole different state doing this. And with coronavirus right now, just thinking about going to the airport is like the most sketchiest idea right now. Like people just are staying away from the airport.
I don't care if it's $10.
Exactly. You can give me a free flight. I will still say no right now.
Right.
Here's the predicament. So not only is it a non-owner occupied owner in a different state cash flowing their property with a tenant who may or may not be able to pay the rent. I'm hoping that the tenant could pay the rent. I'm not looking for anybody to be in a predicament, but again, a predicament is where we essentially do our job. So not only are they renting it out with a potential tenant who may or may not be able to pay the rent, they're in a different state. The property's 30 years or older, and there's equity in it, right? 50% or more. And here's the kicker. These 456, I want to see the ones that actually have a mortgage on them. Why? Because now I know 116 homeowners who are absolutely relying on the tenant to pay. Because if that tenant doesn't pay, well, then who's paying that $1,000 mortgage payment?
The screw they are paying.
Right? So guys, a lead is not just a list. A lead is a problem, and PropStream allows you to build these hidden problems, which you guys see isn't in any of these public records that we normally allow you to search through. I went in here and I built multiple problems, which is A, you're renting, B, it's an old building, C, you don't live in the same state, and D, you have a mortgage that needs to be paid by your tenant. And if they don't, I might be able to just take this off your hands and be the person who can wait a little bit longer. If you can't hold out for 6 months, me and my team can hold out for 6 months, right? Or we can lower the mortgage payments with the tenant and see if we can work things out that you can't do because you have a $1,000 mortgage and you can't go anything lower than that, right? So it's things like this, guys, that PropStream does extremely well. And then from here, you just want to check off your properties and then add it to a marketing list. And once you create that marketing list, you can export it from the My Properties page. You can skip trace it, get their contact information within 5-10 minutes, and then send marketing to it. If you want to send ringless voicemails, postcards, or emails, that's what we can do for you. And so this is, as what Ola said, this is part one, guys. It's list generation, getting contact information, making contact to some form of marketing, whether it's cold calling or a postcard, ringless voicemail, or an email. And then from there, that's when the leads call us, right? Hey, I'm interested in selling. And that's when we go into My Properties. We locate the address. We click on that address. And from PropStream, same platform that helped us build that list, we're now able to analyze those individual properties and run comparables. Our comparables are beautiful, guys. And this is part of essentially the contract part. It's a two-part process with the contract. Not only is the negotiation important, but you got to know your values, like you mentioned. You have to. You have to know your values. So knowing that the person owes a certain amount, right? 385 is what we're calculating. What can this property potentially sell for then? So we would go into our comps, and we can use public records or MLS records or both. And then just a matter of apples to apples. So 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and I'm looking for a residential single family. And here are my results. I can see both public. Now, I got quite a bit, so I might need to maybe tighten it up, maybe go 0.25 mile radius. So there's a lot of things you can do, but once
so let me put, sorry to cut you out. Let me put some perspective right there. Let me add some value right there, because when I started, right, traditionally some gurus still teach that you have to chase after realtors to find comparables. You have to beg them. You have to offer them that you come clean their house, mow their lawns, whatever you have to do so they can get you some comparables. And what I did back then was say, hell no, I'm not mowing nobody's lawn. I got my own license, right? So just so I can have access to the MLS, and it's all right there.
Absolutely.
All of the data, public record, MLS.
And Ola, just to blow your mind, because this update literally came last night, we have a comps report that even realtors right now are completely jealous of. So check this out. Now that I've selected my reports, and I have a good few of them here, as you can see, I have 20 results. I can either now go to actions and just export it on Excel sheet and show my investors here on Excel sheet, this is what it is. Or I can hit the view comps report. And this is a report that we've been working on for quite some time. It's still going to get evolved over time, but here's why I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of our team. Kudos to Rich, Tyler, if you're watching this. But check out this report. So being that we've collected data for multiple years, we have access to public records, access to MLS. We have access to MLS photos. So this is what our comps report. So again, found a property that has a pre-foreclosure. A homeowner called me back. As I'm talking to the owner, I'm running comps. I hit the report. this is what our comps report looks like. It's the property. Here is the subject information of the property, property characteristics, current listing information, if it's on market. You have the search criteria that you asked for in your comps. You have your low, high, and the average based on all the results that you got. So you have 20 results. One sold for $255, one sold for $692, but the average of everything collectively is $422. And then you have all the records that you've selected. And then here are the amazing parts. So you have every single result that you selected with their photo.
That's a beautiful report.
Right? So you have not only that, but check out this. After you go through all 20 of these individual thumbnails, the very last part is, again, we have the photos. So look at after number 20, the next page is every single photos of those single ones. So you can now show your homeowner. If you're negotiating a homeowner, you're like, I want full price. Well, sorry, sir, like I can't give you full price because here's one that actually sold for full price and your property does not look like anything like this.
Yeah.
And vice versa, which is part 5 to part 6 of finding a buyer. When you get the contract signed, right? After you use these photos to negotiate the 70% or lower and get them to sign that purchase agreement, for you to sign this contract, you need to convince the buyer that the property's ARV is higher than your contracted price and what the rehab cost is going to be. So if I'm going to buy your contract for $100,000 and you're going to tell me I also need to rehab it for $20,000, so I'm paying $120,000. I don't want to sell the property for $130,000. I don't want to do all of that work and just make $10,000, right?
Right.
Just not making any sense. But if you say it's $100,000 to buy the contract, but you and your team need to put $20,000 into it, and then you can sell it for $300,000, and these are the exact results to show you that I'm correct. Well, you got yourself a deal, young man. Let me go ahead and take, or young lady, let me go ahead and take that for you. And that's why we thought like you guys. We thought, okay, what is it that you need to convince that buyer to fund your contract or buy that contract? And here it is, guys.
I would even go as far as saying, they have to convince themselves because it's just data. It's right there. They see real life sales that happened on both ends because you're dealing with two different people, the seller and the buyer. On both ends, this person says like, okay, if I don't have 50 grand to put onto this property, I should just let go right now and deal with this gentleman or young lady. Or let's say you locked it under contract already. An investor will see how much value they can add onto this property in real life examples as well, and you don't have to argue with anybody.
Absolutely. And so that is our comps report for you guys. So it's a very elaborate report we've worked on for a few months now, a few years, actually, I should say, but to be able to have access to both. And so again, the reason you have access to both, there are some differences. One is official records from the county. Right. Challenge with the county is the latency. Like you can see the most recent sale the county had was in January. Right. That's why we give you MLS, because the benefit here is you're going to be able to see things that maybe the county hasn't recorded yet.
Yes, a lot faster.
Exactly. Here's one that was at the end of January that the county doesn't even have yet. So again, frequency is important, but MLS, you get to see things sometimes that the county doesn't have. And for you investors that are watching this that are in a non-disclosure state where public records, you usually get estimated values from the county. The MLS comes from the realtors who actually put the exact amount that they sold it for. So absolutely. In non-disclosure states, you definitely want, actually just to show you, if you so happen to search a non-disclosure state like Texas and you went into the liens and you decide to run comps, we help you by defaulting to MLS right away. And if you say, you know what, I'm going to look at the public, we warn you that in public record sales prices are estimated. So just an FYI there, but that is, again, running comps to essentially get an after repair value so you can use that after repair value to convey to your investors to hopefully get that purchase agreement that you had with the homeowner.
That's awesome, man.
Now, just to add to that, a quick little bring up, what if you don't have a cash buyer? Remember those two categories that weren't distress list, guys? Or they're right here. That's the cash buyers and the flippers categories. So cash buyers are all non-owner occupied buyers, apples to apples. In this case, residential, single family buyers that buy properties before 1990. Remember the tired landlord list I built?
Right.
So I'm looking for buyers buying properties before 1990. and these buyers bought within the last 90 days. I'm looking for these most aggressive buyers because of this whole situation
Right.
that we're in. Some have walked away, but here are
Right.
265 buyers buying single family properties built in 1990 or later. This is the
Right.
cash buyers list. This is who's potentially going to buy that purchase agreement. The other list, one of my favorite lists, is called the flippers list. And what this is it shows you a logic where show me a property that's been owned by someone for less than 2 years, and then they put it back on the market. And that's what a flipper does. You buy a property.
That's a beautiful list right there. I just found out today, by the way. I was like, whoa.
And you can see some amazing stuff usually. Like when you click on the property, you'll see usually what they sold it for or what they bought it for in cash, and then what they're listing it for later, right? So you can see here's a $20,000 flip. Bought it in March, and now they're trying to sell it for $237,000. Right. You can also filter that. So show me the flippers that bought a single family property, and they're individuals, because I want to build rapport with people, not with corporations, right?
Absolutely.
And so we have that. And so when I hit close, here are the 60 people that most likely bought a property in cash, $246,000, and they're listing it for a much higher price, $354,000. And I get to see the buyer's name. So Rosalie is probably going to be on my buyer's list if I'm in Florida, right?
Yes,
and I
absolutely.
have her address. And if I can't get a hold of Rosie because she doesn't want to speak to anybody, that's fine, because we have MLS details. I know her broker.
Talk to the realtor.
Yeah. And guess what? Knowing broker information is important, guys, because the cool add-on that we did is that after you build your flippers list and check it off, for example, Miami, let's type flippers Miami. What we did in the My Properties page is that we've given you the ability to export the agent's information as well. And I like that. So I found 60 flippers, but when I go into the My Properties list and I find my 60 Miami flippers, I'm also going to ask the system to give me the agent's phone numbers, emails.
Agent phone number. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Because,
and people complain about agent wholesalers relationship all the time. I don't have that experience personally. Maybe it's because of positioning. Maybe the way I position myself when I talk to them, because honestly, I always lead with value. So I'm not calling them to ask them for comps. So why would they want to be disrespectful, right?
Right. Well,
maybe if I was calling to bother them and waste their time, sure. But if you're calling them to say, hey, you need for a fact that they deal with cash buyers. You got to think about cash buyer. You got to think about not sounding like you're stealing from them, right?
You nailed it right on the head. Usually when I show this list, I always ask the person I'm showing, hey, so how many buyers do I have? And they're like, oh, you have 60. I'm like, nope, I have 600. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, not only do I have the buyer's name, but the agent is as important. Like you said, the agent just doesn't represent one buyer. The agent probably knows 10, 20, 15 buyers. So not only am I going to try to get a hold of the individual that bought the property in cash and build rapport with them, but I would like to build rapport with these agents that are all the way back here. Because again, although I have 60 cash buyers, I have 60 agents that may know 1 or 2 or 10 other buyers that I didn't.
That's why people that are here, that have been here forever, they know I don't teach how to build a buyers list. I teach how to build a buyers network. It's a network. It's bigger than, it's like you have your phone. How many people are the contacts in each person's phone connected to another person's phone, connected to another person's phone? If you start thinking that way, think leverage, this is...
Yeah, and again, what I like about this list is these aren't just your regular buy and sell agents. These are agents that are representing people that have bought a property, usually in cash, and then are flipping it.
Concluded transactions.
Exactly. So, guys, our system, as Ola said, I mean, he's giving you guys the basic blueprint. Like that is a golden ticket right there. And the fact that we are lucky to accommodate that layout by allowing you to go into PropStream, pull distressed owners at whatever level of motivation which you saw, then be able to make contact after getting contact information and marketing to them. But when they make that contact, to be able to go into here and also get that after repair value, like that's just mind blowing. And then getting that beautiful comps report to be able to convey, hey, not only do I have this property under 70% on contract, but here's how you can, what you can do with the
It's
property
what you're
to
going to do.
sell it.
This is how much money you're going to make.
Exactly. Or again, as Ola mentioned, we can also use the contract if we don't have the report. If we don't have the homeowner on contract yet, and they're trying to hardball it, I want full price, and we're as the roof is squeaking and falling apart, or a leak is like dripping. This is the tool to use to convince them that unfortunately I cannot give you full price. It would be a loss for me and my company. We're trying to get you out of this pre-foreclosure, right? We're trying to cash you out, but work with us. I can't give you that full price because of these X factors. You don't have a nice roof. You don't have tampered windows. So would you allow us to pay your mortgage and give you a little bit more? Hopefully it's under 70% or whatever the market value is. And understand that even after cashing you out and you get to live another life, I'm now taking that risk, or my buyer's now taking that risk, because he's now going to put money into it, and it could or could not sell, right? I mean, we're hoping it sells, but that's the information that we could convey to the homeowner. So this comps report can be used for multiple angles, to use to negotiate, or also to use to negotiate with a buyer. And so guys, numbers literally 1 through I'm pretty much 6 we cover. 7 add
that's the
value.
business right there.
Yeah, exactly. Add value. We can't help rent. Actually rent me. Maybe we found buyers for you. I mean, agents that could help you rent.
Yeah.
So that 8 could help. Close cash. Obviously, we can't help you directly, but we have buyers that definitely can help you. And then rinse, recycle, and repeat, guys. Or just do it all over again.
If you are a wholesaler, you are essentially a marketer, and there's no such thing as a marketer without thinking data. So let's even get ahead of the curve, like you were saying earlier, and understand that you're a marketer. So it's about data, and it's about access, relationship with all the people that can get questions that you may not even have answers to. They will get it answered. I always tell people there are things you don't have to worry about. Don't worry about what kind of contract. Don't worry about what type of LLCs. Not all that stuff. You pay people to figure it out for you. But as far as everything you need to get going, you need data. The first step here is you need access to distressed owners. And there's like 50 different types of distressed owners, and I was going to point that out because, you see all this different, and one of the downside to this kind of beautiful system is you can overanalyze yourself into not doing anything, right? So I want to make sure you're not overanalyzing anything. You find what sticks to your head that sounds like a motivated seller. You create the filter and you stick to it. You keep it simple, consistent, and market to them every day. The beautiful thing about what I'm noticing there is that you can also set based on the volume. You see the volume that's popping up on the right-hand side. Whatever market you choose to, you want to go nationwide, you want to stay in the local area, you see the volume, you know what your budget is. So if your budget is 20 grand a month, you can make it happen. And if your budget is $200 a month, then you drill the filter a little deeper. You go a little deeper, and then you stick to doing that consistently. So it's such a beautiful thing. I had a couple of questions. Let me see if I can get to that. The landing page. There's a landing page that's created automatically with the postcards, right?
That's correct. So that is our campaign page. And so that's what I call phase 3 of list generation, is after you search and save that list, you'll then want to skip trace to get contact information. Once you get the results, then when you create a campaign, essentially you're creating a campaign specifically for that list. And so as you can see here, I have over 90 different campaigns, each one represent a different thing. One for buyers, one for auction, and that list has 75 people. One has 2 people. Landlord list has 41. So the idea is for each campaign you create, we give you a free website to use. And the idea was that we want you to only use this landing page for the campaign that you created for the 25 or 1,000 people on your list. The idea here, not only for you to just use it for that group, but it's so that they can fill out an application instead of call you or email you and waste your time. For the ones that are really interested in getting a cash offer, for the ones that really want to buy that contract that you have at 70%, trust me, they'll take that extra step to go here.
They're motivated. They'll fill
exactly. Hit send, you'll get an email notification. So that's step 1 of the campaign. And then after you create the website, then it's your choice whether are we going to send the 41 individuals a postcard, and we can create a blank one or choose many of our templates. We can do a
Now,
ringless
can you have as
voicemail.
many landing pages as many campaigns you have?
Yes, sir. That's a great
Okay.
question. So as you can see, I have 94 different campaign. Each one has a different
Has its own
website.
landing page. Awesome.
Exactly. And you can
And
create a
then,
different name for it. So that's the idea.
but the idea is not to put that landing page on a postcard, though, right? You don't put that on a
Um,
postcard.
you can if you want. Yeah. So if you wanted this landing page, let's say Nate buys houses in cash, which is one I created. So let's say I copy that link after I create it. I can now go
Hmm.
to the postcard, and when I create, let's say, a template here, and I choose one,
Right.
I can customize this template. So here on the back part, it says, call me, my name. Heck, I can
Gotcha.
go in here and add to it. I can go in here and add that web address if I want.
Right.
Now, I might need to customize it, make some room for it, but you guys get the point. I mean,
Got it.
you
Right.
do not
You
need to
can you can
use.
buy a domain, you can forward it, you can get creative with that, basically.
Exactly. And again,
Yeah.
this is optional. Like, we do not have to use it. I know some of you guys have much more elaborate business websites than this one page and landing page. Totally get
Right.
it. But that was the idea. Like, this is a call to action. This message I have on this one page landing spot is solely
Hmm.
designed for just these 53 people.
Just that campaign. Got
That's
you.
it.
Got you. Awesome. All right. Let me see the last question that I have for you, because honestly, uh, I think we covered quite a bit. And thank you so much for stopping by and just giving
Of
us this gem,
course.
man. The email campaign that you have over there, when if someone used the skip trace and pulled some data of emails, right?
Yes.
Um, as have you heard any kind of concern with regards to email spam filter? Have you had to deal with that in terms of because you're mass emailing a lot of people?
Yes, right
Um,
now we have. So just to play it fair, email
mhm,
marketing. Let me just be transparent with you. Email
mhm.
marketing isn't a perfect science right now. So we know that, and it's not fair for us to charge for something that isn't going to be controlled 100%. And so if you guys are going to use our email marketing, the skip tracing is an additional cost, but email marketing, unlike voicemail postcard, is free. You can actually use our email marketing once you have these emails, either from our provider that you skip trace or from a list that you upload in our system. Your choice
Right.
there. But transparency, here's why we don't charge you for it, because when you send that email out,
Mhm.
we then take the thousands of emails that you're about to send out and we send them out in a bulk for you. Now, here's the challenge. Once we release them, we don't know what the provider of those emails, the carriers of those emails, are going to
At
do.
the landing, right?
Exactly.
You
Is
don't know if they're
Gmail
going
going
to
to
land them
flag
in,
it? Is it
right,
going to spam it? Is it not going to deliver it? Or is it going to put it in the inbox?
right,
Now, there have been some suggestions out there that keywords play a factor, attachments play a factor, certain
right.
sizes of the email play a factor. Again, there's all sorts of ideas and hints and suggestions out there. We'll leave it up to you guys to look for that. But again, lots of external variables. So being that we can't control what Gmail, what Yahoo, what AOL is going to do when they get this package, we don't
Mm-hmm.
feel it's fair to charge you. Now, some people do, and
Gotcha.
we're always looking out there for the next best thing, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, it's evolving. Right now, it's free. Take advantage of it. Could we eventually, over time, find someone who can guarantee us a success rate?
Right.
Absolutely. And when that time comes, we'll definitely let you guys know.
Absolutely, because it's for everybody's best interest,
Absolutely. I
right?
mean, I say, hey, guys, if you have the emails, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you it's 100% success rate. It could be 100% one day. It could be 5% the other day, but
Right.
it's free. So use it.
It's free.
Exactly.
It's free.
It's free. Use it. Why
You
not?
may you
Otherwise,
may.
again, if you want to guarantee the emails, you
Uh
can
huh.
send it from your own inbox. Just be careful. Disclaimer for me saying that your own
Right.
inbox has a limit. So if Google sees you
Yes.
sending too many emails from your
Yeah,
own
I think it's
inbox,
500 or so, and if you do it
exactly.
constantly long enough, it will catch you. It will burn
Yeah,
you
they
up.
will catch you. But I will tell you, if you can maybe send the 20 emails from your email, you will most likely
Right.
get a high delivery rate. But again, when you're dealing in the bulk, you don't have that luxury. So just know it's free. Use it. Take it with a grain of salt. Some may call you
Yeah.
back, some may not, some may get it. Or if they're like me, they'll clear out their inbox at the end of the week and see your email. We'll go from
What
there.
I would do with this, I would test it. I would just pull up a data, like a mass data, like create another filter or so of, and then skip trace and get a bunch of emails, maybe like 1,000 emails for like 1 month straight, and I would do like 4 emails during that course of that month and just test it and see what happens and see if somebody bites. Maybe somebody clicks on a link or something.
It's a numbers game, and agree.
Yep,
It's free. It's free marketing. We're giving it to
it's
you for
free,
now,
right?
so might as well
Right.
use it. I wouldn't turn the cheek on it. I mean, just again, grin at it, take it with a grain of salt, but it's free. It's free publicity. Definitely use it.
Awesome, awesome. So that's it. We're gonna keep it at that. I know there's other faces, and but because of Button's time, we want to make sure that we make the best use of it, and so that you can also soak what you've received already. So, and there's so much more, but that's basically the gist of it. It's a tool. It's a very powerful tool that you can try it out for 7 days.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, guys, do not sign up directly on our website. We've actually partnered up with Ola. There is a link that you can go to and gives you guys a 7-day trial and a discounted price. It's empirebigdata.com. Guys, remember
Absolutely.
that. empirebigdata.com. Go to that website, fill out the application at the top. We'll give you a 7-day trial. Now, if you decide, hey, you know what, this is going to work for me, I love it, it fits my needs, it's just a monthly contract. We're not tying you in for a year. It's $97 with that link, right? Remember, click on that link for that discount of $97. So it's $97 a month. You'll be able to search in any market and export 10,000 leads. I mean, download. I'm sorry. You'll be able to download.
You can export, right?
Yeah, you can export over 100,000 of the list that you have already in your My Properties. So as you
at any point in time.
Exactly. So if like 6 months later, you're like, hey, you know what? I got to re-download or re-export all of these lists again. You can do 100 at a given month. But in terms of downloading from our data, it's 10,000 every month. If you need more, reach out to Ola, reach out to me or my team, and then we'll be able to essentially get you guys, or you can go into your settings and get the version that gives you up to 100,000 leads a month if you end up scaling to that point.
Yeah, that's extremely valuable, man, because I remember having to put my own Excel sheets together back in the days, and to do this kind of stuff. And to be honest, I mean, I was looking how you were clicking back and forth. The thing was loading so fast too, because I've used other systems before, and when you're dealing with big data, it becomes very challenging to load up a page sometimes because the page is being processed on the back end and it's just taking forever or it crashes. I mean, the way you were clicking back and forth over there, I mean, it's a fantastic tool that I personally think I don't think I'll ever be able to do without in this business. And not to speak of everything is all in there in one stop. One stop, you do everything from there. You can literally do it unless you want to get fancier and, but again, I don't even recommend that until you close your first, second, third deal. Remember the step 10 is to rinse and repeat, create a system out of it, right? But if you haven't done step 1 to 9, it's pointless unless you're paying for mentorship, but it's pointless to pay for any other tool, honestly. And I still don't like driving for dollars and and any type of manual labor in the world of data. It makes no sense. All right. And I get you guys kind of try to accommodate people because somebody sold them driving for dollars. So I guess
actually, speaking of which, I won't throw them under the bus. There is a luxury there in a sense because we don't. There's no such thing as a list of distressed properties, right? But what is happening is those applications that are driving for dollars, they don't have as much data as we have, right? So there's the challenge. We've been doing.
No, I actually like the applications because the guys behind the applications are smarter than the ones driving for dollars.
They are right, and they're awesome. The issue with the application is just the limitation of data. So what we did do, and we didn't cover this today, but just to kind of really highlight it for you advanced users, in our settings under add-on services, we have a feature called List Automator.
Right.
What it does is it allows you to go into your My Properties page and import an outside list. So if you have a driving for dollars list that you've done through an app and you've list them all on Excel sheet, or you have a very old list, maybe a list from like 3 years ago, you can import it, we'll update it, and we'll let you know how many have high equity, how many have low equity. So you can get our data from a different provider's list or a list that's old and updated.
So essentially, driving for dollars is just to collect data.
That's really what it boils down to.
And then you can analyze it, and you can analyze it. You can come back here and analyze it, right?
Right. If the application did data collection and running comps, we got
Uh-huh.
ourselves a ball player, right? But again,
Right, right.
this is just my experience. Again, I love them. They have a niche that we don't cover, which is we can't tell you what a physically distressed property is. There's no list to
Right,
buy like that.
right.
But the problem, not the problem, the challenge I'm seeing is that if you use a Driving for Dollars app and you do get a lead, let's say you send the postcard and whatnot. Well, does that app also run comps for
I think they
you?
can see the most they can see from the ones I've seen. The most they can see is the property public record data, whatever. But as far as analyzing it for marketability, it's not there. So
Exactly. And that's why the
right.
list automator was introduced. Now, for those that don't have list automator, what they end up
Hmm.
doing is if they're driving for dollars and someone does call them, they end up using Propstream. What they do is they type in the address and then they're using our system to run comps. So trust me, guys, I've seen it.
Hmm.
Where we can accommodate both. I'm not telling you not to do
Right,
one or the other, but
right.
I'm just letting you know that we have a lot of data, and whether it's an old list or a different provider's list, bring it on over with our list automator or type in the address and we can show you what we have that they may not have, and vice versa. You go from there.
I mean, resource is resource. Some people have more time than they have money. It's
Exactly.
just what it is. Time is a resource. If they have time to drive for dollars, have them work for you. Buy their whatever. They have a $300 package, and have a bunch of people driving for dollars around town for you, so you can analyze the data instead of PropStream.
There you
you
go.
know there you have it. So you just have to figure out where you are. Do you have more time? You have more money? I will continue to recommend and let you know that your time, if you can go to work and get paid $20 an hour for doing something, you probably should be worried about how you're going to flip those $20 into more data. That's what you should be thinking about, right? But different type of class, different type of class. But yeah, okay, we definitely there's place for all of those tools in the marketplace. But like I was saying earlier, just find your own little niche. He gave the example of the landlord. My favorite is non owner occupied, vacant, pre foreclosure, and then owned for the last 7 years. Those are I have like my own 10 stack like that, and I
Nice.
stick to it. I stick to it. It reduces my list down to my budget. I stick to it. I make sure I do that for at least 1 year. So if I want to do something else, like the one example you gave, like the tired landlord, right? If I wanted to do that, that's a completely different. I got to make sure I have that budget separate. I don't stop my 1 year process. You got to start thinking like a business person. You don't stop a whole process unless there's coronavirus, which you can't control. But if there's, if it's within your power, you stick to your process. You pick one process, you define your rules, and you stick to it because the power is right there. And I noticed that there's a tool in there that actually updates automatically. Quick question for you: does the list automator come at separate fees or?
Yes, it is. And that is what you're referring to. So with like List Automator, as you mentioned, it is a separate fee. It's an additional $27 add-on
Not
to
bad.
the existing plan. But I'll tell you why it's important really quick. List Automator is solely designed to save you money. Here's why. If you, prior to List Automator, when you bought a list, let's say 100 postcards, right? Let's do a thousand postcards, right? 1,000 addresses, you have to send 1,000 postcards, you have to do 1,000 voicemails, and you have to repeat that marketing process because again, it's not just one time. You got to
Right.
do it for maybe 2 months,
Follow-ups.
3 months. Exactly.
Hmm.
So what we as investors were doing was we would buy a list and market to that list for up to maybe 6 months, and then we would just come to a complete stop. Here's what List Automator does. It takes any list that you just built, right? Maybe a tired landlord list, the Hamilton one, and then you can automate it. You can say, okay, look, here's PropStream. Here's what I want you to do. Anytime you're going and doing an update, if something meets my criteria, this elaborate one I just drew out, I
Hmm.
want you to automatically add it to this list or move it to a different list
Right.
or notify me
So you're creating
and
a
I'll do
rule.
it.
It's a rule,
Exact.
basically.
For incoming records. And then you put a rule for what's inside your list. Do we remove them when they don't meet that criteria, move it to another list, or would you like to be notified? And here's why it's a money saver. I know you guys are probably like, well, it's $27. How is it saving me money? Here's why. It's all about the numbers, right, guys? We're very analytical here. And here's how that $27 investment can definitely save you hundreds of dollars in the
Yeah.
long run, right? And I
Because
don't mean that.
you don't want to be mailing people or contacting people that already don't fit your criteria anymore.
Exactly. And that's what it's doing. So right now, so this is an old list. So PropStream is now going through the rules I set. It's going through
Right.
it, and it's
That's the
saying
process of the data.
exactly. It's going through every 331, and it's saying, okay, we just monitored it. So out of the 331, one of them no longer meets that criteria that you have. So guys, question I leave to you is: do we send 331 postcards, or we send 330 postcards? Now, this doesn't make sense right now because it's just one, but when it's a list that you've had for
When it's 1,000
months,
extra, 500
exactly,
extra, 200
tons,
extra.
you can see, for example, Riverside 26. And guys, let's think about it this way. Let's just round up. Let's say postcard is 60 cents. Let's include postage. Let's say it's $1. We paid for the fancy one. Right now, I could send 518 postcards, or I can remove 26. Again, if the postcard is $1 per postcard, I just saved myself $26 for removing those records. Is that $27 worth it now? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
And it's not just automating your list, it's to also allow you to import a list. And you get these 10 other boxes here at the top, which allows you to create a list within a list.
Right.
So you don't have to run another search.
It's like in the world of digital marketing, it's like segments, basically.
Exactly. So rather than running this elaborate filter all over again, I can isolate the 3 low equity properties within that filter and focus on those 3.
Just in case you're in the mood to cold call.
Exactly. Right? So that is what List Automator is. It's a 3-part process. It monitors your list every single day, removes or reminds you to remove or add properties that are meeting your criteria on every morning. And that way, over time, you're saving money. And as you can see, that's how you operate that.
All right. Anyway, to reduce the chances of information overload here, you want to go to Empire Big Data and then get access to that. All right. So that was awesome, right? That was really, really good stuff, right? Yeah. I thought so. Just such a nice gentleman to come here and show us everything. I just felt like it to be more. By the way, you have access to all of that. Just go to empirebigdata.com. You can sign up for the software for free for 7 days free trial, and you can start practicing with that. Okay. So we've covered goal number 7 and 8. It's time to jump in through number 9. Let's get into the first step. What if you could master the skills of real estate data collection and analysis starting now at a depth? Okay. At a depth that optimizes the input of your budget resources for maximum profit in 100% virtual real estate investing and wholesaling, while you're positioned as the only solution to your contacts with minimum competition. What if? I want you to stare at this slide and really, really process it. Right now, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe I've covered quite a bit of information. Thank you for hanging out with me. This was really awesome, sharing this information with you. I really appreciate you being here because I know that your time means everything in the world. I know you value your time. That's why you're here, because at the point where I started bastardizing driving for dollars, you would have run away. But you get it, that this is about making the most out of every resources, every talent, God-given talent that you have. Is about making the most out of it, right? So if you're overwhelmed, that's okay. Is it okay, however, if I give you a special offer to help you implement data, depth, and solution for massive real estate profit? Would you be interested in something like that? I'm also going to show you some really cool stuff here right now. Listen, I've helped a lot of people, okay? But for obvious reasons, I can't put people's face all over my webinars and stuff like that. I'll share my personal story with you, and I think that's more than enough anyway. I'll share my own personal results with you. I think that's more than enough. But for obvious reasons, this training here is evergreen. I don't want a situation where people don't appreciate that or anything like that.